Tel Aviv U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin came Israel on Monday to focus on Israel's transition, the high-intensity war in Gaza and a more limited, focused conflict. The trip for Austin is a sensitive balancing action, following October 7 attacks Palestinian Group Hamas. Israel's defense of right has steadily supported right defense Israel. However, Israeli strikes increased the wounded and became increasingly vocal about the situation of civilians in Gaza. In a speech at beginning this month, Austin went to the civilians in war Israel to call civilians as a center gravity, and warned Gaza's risk ruling Palestinian Islamist movements and radicalization. A senior U.S. defense official, Austin traveling journalists, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, including senior Israeli leaders, said he was expected to discuss transition to the next stage of war. What you see in terms of high-intensity ground operations and airstrikes will not continue forever. He continued, we are interested in supporting Israelis when they decide that big ground operations should end and they are ready to pass. Michael Eisenstadt, Director Military and Security Research Program Washington Institute Near East Policy, said that both U.S. and Israel agreed to a final transition to next stage campaign. But Washington wants it to be earlier. Perhaps in a few weeks. Israel thinks he needs more time. Therefore, they make a basic agreement on next road and the need to move into a more targeted approach. But there are differences about timeline, said. When the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan visited Israel last week, Netanyahu told him that Israel would fight up to absolute victory. This month, the Gaza Strip length severe ground fight in aid of a disaster warning. Israel's random airstrikes that killed Palestinian civilians, said the risk losing international support. A four-star general, Austin, controlled U.S. forces the Middle East, and even led U.S. forces in Iraq when he was uniform, and gave him perspective about warfare transitions, military campaigns that could help with Israeli officials. Austin, in this case, Hamas'ın reconstruction of military reconstruction are not applicable to ensure that on the other side of high-intensity conflict is familiar with how to take military actions. He said, with a sign of Biden's intensive focus on Israeli-Hamas conflict. Austin, the president of U.S. Army's Joint Personnel, Air Force General Charles C.Q. will accompany Israel by the president. Austin Brown are struggling with regional sprinkle of war. Groups aligned with Iran make waves of attacks against U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria. Houthi movement in Red Sea to support Yemen's Hamas is striking ships. Iran-backed Houthis. The weekend. Israeli Red Sea town at the weekend Eilat'ın with a flock of drones. He said. U.S. Central Command. Saturday. Destroyer Carney'in Red Sea'in 14 Houthi drone. He said.